All right, let's talk about a force that's all around us, but often totally invisible: manipulation. It's this game that gets played with our minds and our emotions. But here's the good news: once you learn the playbook, you can just decide not to play. So let's get right into it. I mean, you know that feeling, right? That little nagging sense in the back of your mind that something's just off about a conversation, or you find yourself agreeing to something you didn't really want to do, or maybe you feel like you're somehow always the one who ends up apologizing. If any of that sounds familiar, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to unpack that feeling and figure out how to see it coming a mile away. Okay, so first things first, let's get a really clear definition. What are we actually talking about when we say manipulation? Because, it's not the same thing as healthy influence. The real difference is somewhere between just persuading someone and controlling them. And this right here is the core of it. See, with honest persuasion, everybody's goals are out on the table. But manipulation, it thrives on hidden motives. It's all about finding someone's vulnerabilities and using them for personal gain. To put it simply, it's influence without your genuine consent. Now for the really fascinating part. How does this stuff actually work? Manipulators, they don't have some kind of magic power. What they have is a playbook. They just really understand the psychological levers that make us all tick, and they know exactly how to pull them. So let's take a look inside that playbook. So the first engine that makes manipulation run is our own brain. Yep, specifically our cognitive biases. These are just mental shortcuts our brains developed over thousands of years to make quick decisions and save energy. And most of the time, they're super helpful. But manipulators know exactly how to hijack them and steer our thinking right where they want it to go. And here are some of the biggest ones they go after. So a manipulator might feed you information that only confirms what you already think. That's them playing on your confirmation bias. Or they might act like there's some kind of unquestionable authority figure. They could throw out an insane initial price for something just so their real price seems like a bargain. That's anchoring. And that classic limited time offer, that's scarcity, creating a totally false sense of urgency. Okay, next up is the second engine: our emotions. Think about it. When our emotions are running high, whether it's fear or excitement, our rational, logical brain tends to take a back seat. And this is the absolute perfect environment for a manipulator to slide in and just take the wheel. And they go right for our most powerful emotions. They'll use fear to make us do what they want, and guilt to make us give in when we shouldn't. They play on our pride with flattery to butter us up, or they use shame to make us feel small and easier to control. Even that deep human need we all have to just belong, that can be twisted to make us fall in line. And the third and final engine is just our basic social nature. We are fundamentally wired to connect with each other, to fit in with the group, and to return favors. And these are wonderful human traits, but in the wrong hands, they become powerful tools for control. I mean, think about how this plays out in real life. You hear that phrase, "Oh, but everyone's doing it," and that pressure you feel to conform, that's social proof. Or what about when someone does you a tiny, unsolicited favor and then immediately asks for a huge one? They're basically weaponizing our natural instinct for reciprocity. And by getting you to agree to really small things first, they make it psychologically way harder for you to say no to a much bigger request down the line. That's the power of commitment and consistency. Okay, so we've seen the playbook, we know the theory. Now, how do you actually spot these plays out on the field, in the real world? Let's get practical and look at the red flags that signal you might be dealing with a manipulator. Here are two classic techniques that are almost complete opposites. With foot in the door, they start with something tiny you'd feel silly refusing, like, "Hey, can you just sign this petition?" before they hit you with their real goal, like asking for a big donation. Door in the face is the reverse. They ask for something huge, knowing you'll say no, and then their smaller actual request seems totally reasonable by comparison. Oof, this quote, this one is chilling, isn't it? This is the sound of gaslighting. It is a tactic specifically designed to make you doubt your own memory, your own perception of reality, even your own sanity. It's just a direct attack on who you are. And here's another classic. I bet you've heard this one before. This is the calling card of the guilt trip. It reframes the whole situation. It's not a request anymore. It's an obligation you now owe them. It is designed to make you feel indebted and totally ungrateful if you don't do what they want. Maybe the most important red flag of all is simply how you feel. Trust your gut. Do you consistently walk away from interactions with a certain person feeling confused or drained or guilty? Pay attention to that. Are they always rushing you to make a decision, trying to isolate you from your support system? Are you on this emotional roller coaster where they praise you one minute and tear you down the next? These are massive, giant warning signs. So, you've spotted the signs. Now what? This, right here, is the most important part, because all this knowledge is useless if you don't do anything with it. So let's build your practical, step-by-step defense strategy for taking back control. Think of this 4-step plan as your emergency brake. First, just pause. Seriously, manipulation thrives on speed and pressure, so just slowing things down is your first act of resistance. Second, verify. Step away from the situation. Check the facts yourself or call a trusted friend for a reality check. Third, name it. Calmly saying something like, "I feel like I'm being pressured to decide right now," can be incredibly disarming. And finally, set a boundary. Let's actually arm you with some specific things to say. One of the most powerful phrases in your entire toolkit is simply, "I need time to think about that." It is so simple, it's not confrontational, and it instantly shuts down high-pressure tactics. It buys you the space you need to think clearly. And if you want to be even more direct, you can state a clear boundary. "I won't make a decision under pressure." See, this isn't just asking for time. It's a clear statement about who you are and how you operate. It sends a very clear signal that their tactics are just not going to work on you. The whole key here is to have a simple plan you can remember. So pause and verify what's going on. Name the behavior that you're seeing, and then set a clear boundary. And don't forget to lean on your support system, your friends, your family. And remember, if this is a pattern, it is perfectly okay to document what's happening and even reduce contact to protect your own well-being. Because ultimately, seeing the playbook isn't just about spotting manipulation in other people. It's about reclaiming authorship over your own life, your own choices. The goal here isn't to become paranoid, it's just to become aware. So now that you can see the strings, the power is back in your hands. What are you going to do with it?